Welcome to Studies Show. My guest tonight is the founder of and artist behind the science YouTube channel Stated Clearly. It's Jon Perry. Jon, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Now, we've never spoken before, only exchanged messages on Twitter, and yet somehow your voice is very familiar. Like, I could have sworn just the other day you were explaining metabolism to me as I was catabolizing my breakfast. Was that you? Did you sneak into my kitchen?
I suppose as a YouTuber, you sneak into lots of people's kitchens, right?
You sure do. So you started Stated Clearly back in 2012, right? How did you get into making science videos?
I started the Stated Clearly project because my neighbors, I was living in Tennessee at the time, they were really anti-evolution, and I'd try to talk to them about it, but they didn't understand anything about DNA or genetics either. So I decided to start just, making a basic introduction to genetics and evolution course on YouTube. It would be friendly for people who are, not in science and also who are not maybe on board with the science. So I was actually raised religiously in kind of an anti-science religious community. Not super anti-science, but enough to where I didn't really pay a whole lot of attention to it. And I didn't understand it. So I kind of think of myself when I'm creating these videos back when I was in high school, and I think of my neighbors who came to me with all these questions. What I like to do is just do a deep dive into the topic. And, I'll go to the scientific research pretty deep because I want to be able to understand the topic inside and out and not teach it the way that it's normally taught in textbooks. I want to be providing something new.
What about the name Stated Clearly? What's the story there? Because it's almost as if you're suggesting there's some sort of communication issue wherein scientists, science teachers even, can sometimes be hard to understand. Like they somehow get so caught up in complexities that they forget how to talk to the non-sciencey masses. Is that, do you think that is that the case?
Yeah, I do think that's what's happening. The very first video that I did is what is DNA and how does it work? And that animation, it was really fueled by a frustration that I had with the textbooks and with the classes that I'd taken on genetics when I was in college. I wanted to understand how DNA works. And so I take this class on genetics, and from day one, we're zoomed in completely on the molecule. We're memorizing just names of enzymes and, just chemical structures. But not once did we just stop and zoom out and see how the entire process works from start to finish. I had aced my tests because I memorized all these enzyme names and the different reactions that happen. And I actually finished that course not understanding how DNA actually works. My goal with Stated Clearly is not to go deep in these topics, but to give people an overview, zooming in and out, showing how the topic is related to things that are more common in our everyday lives. So with a gene, I'll show a body, then you zoom into a cell, then you zoom into the DNA, because we don't live in the world of cells and molecules. We live in the world of animals. So
right, you give the viewer some greater context, a touch point to connect to before you dive into the science. Yeah. As you mentioned, you cover evolution a lot in your videos. I love the theory of evolution. Scouring YouTube for evolution videos is probably what led me to your channel in the first place. I think it is the bee's knees. My question is, how do you deal with the societal sensitivities around evolution? And also, have bees evolved knees?
bees do have knees, but they don't have kneecaps because they have exoskeletons. But it is a touchy subject. And I find that I was religious and I learned evolution, and it was painful for me to do that because I felt like it was a sin, actually. I remember I was probably 12 years old when I first heard about evolution. I'm pretty sure it was a David Attenborough
The best
documentary where he was talking about evolution.
Yeah.
And I was just, this actually makes a lot of sense. We had encyclopedias in our house, and I'd read about it, and if someone walked in on me, I'd close it like it was a dirty magazine, I was, because I had been taught by my Sunday school teacher when I was a kid that evolution is evil. And so I think I have a pretty good personal understanding of that sensitivity. I definitely avoid little jabs at religion in my videos because those, my favorite author on biology is Richard Dawkins, but by far, I love reading his work.
Which is surprising to me that you said that,
Yeah.
given the respect that you show
Yeah. Well, I wanted to share that with my neighbors that were upset about evolution,
Uh-huh.
but, I tried to read a passage to share with them, and it was like, I can't show him this. He's infusing atheism into everything here.
Yeah.
And I actually see that as a problem. I see it as a problem in science education. If Dawkins has an atheist goal, he wants to spread atheism, and that's his thing. I'm not complaining that that's his thing, but for the rest of us that are just trying to teach the science, it can be a problem. So
Yeah. No, I see that for sure. I really appreciate the Jon Perry approach of doing this with respect and sensitivities in mind. I think you do a fabulous job of teaching it without it being triggering.
yeah, cool, thanks.
But yeah, it's something still like I think around 20% of adult Americans believe humans have not evolved from some ancestral form, and that's still that's a big chunk.
Yeah, I don't. My goal isn't so much to drive that one point home for people. It's to get them thinking about evolution, how it works. Understanding how evolution works is so important. We're entering this kind of biological era in science right now where we're genetically engineering our foods, and we're now starting to genetically engineer even humans. And so it's really important that people have literacy around this topic, around biology in general.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. A few years back, you also launched a second channel, Stated Casually. Why the spinoff? You needed a break from stating everything so dang clearly all the time? What's the difference between those channels?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of differences. One is that on Stated Clearly, I don't talk about creationism at all directly, and I felt like it is important to sometimes talk about it. But I just felt like I needed a way to interact with my audience on a more regular basis because animations take forever, and I needed a way to talk more in depth about certain things. So it just gives me more freedom to talk about whatever the heck is on my mind. So I've also got videos with my nephew in there. Yeah, we do a video about aliens, so it's pretty fun.
Do you have a favorite video you've produced?
Usually my favorite video is the one I most recently did. So,
Yeah.
but the most popular one I've done for Stated Clearly is what is the evidence for evolution? And that I would say that's probably my favorite as well, because it talks about whales, which I love whales.
Mm,
And it talks about the evidence for evolution, and that's
yeah.
also a thing that I love. That video is probably my overall favorite.
Well, obviously, Stated Clearly and Stated Casually, both wildly successful. So here at Study Show, we thought we'd offer you some ideas for your next spinoff.
Awesome.
These are our gifts to you. First one, in keeping with the whole word starting with C theme, stated clairvoyantly. So here the whole thing would be breaking the news about scientific discoveries that humanity has yet to make. So might be hard to get material, but would definitely raise some eyebrows. Thoughts?
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Oh, you like it? Wow. Okay, we've got one more. This one's stated long-windedly. The idea here would be you take what would be a perfectly good script for Stated Clearly and then just add in a few tangential pieces of info and a whole lot of fluff to, really stretch out the video duration. Maybe your overall watch time goes up, or maybe you lose subscribers because you spend half of a video about vestigial whale legs talking about bee knees. Time will tell.
Yeah, that's actually the model for Animal Planet, right?
I think it might be, yeah.
After the break, we will see. Blah, blah, blah.
So John, thanks so much for being here. We barely scratched the surface of who you are and why you do what you do, but I'm hoping we can end this video the way you end yours. I'm Dan Brubaker, and that was Jon Perry. Say it with me now. Stated clearly. For more from Jon Perry, you can subscribe to Stated Clearly and Stated Casually. Likewise, you can check out more of Study Show and subscribe over here. I feel like Alice from the Brady Bunch.